Canada continues to fund this devastating these devastating enterprises in this industry that is largely owned by foreign investors at the expense of Canadians, at the expense of our future, and this is simply not something that we can continue. We need instead to invest in renewables. We have solar, we have wind, we have every possible renewable energy forms that could transform Canada into an energy superpower fit for the 21st century. That is not what we're hearing right now from the Conservatives or the Liberals who want to take us back.
That was Green Party candidate Jonathan Ped, yes please, who recently spent a good amount of time talking about how Canada has missed all of our climate goals that we agreed to in Paris. He also talked a lot about the horrors of extreme weather. And I would love to tell you to vote Green in this election, if it weren't for the fact that you've got a brain and you can look at your own local candidates and see which ones align with your values, and then do the math about which choice gets you the least bad options. That is unfortunately where we are as a country. A united far-right party that is for sale to the highest billionaire, a normally milquetoast centrist party that actually seems to have its act together in terms of dealing with the most pressing and immediate threats to Canada in the short term, and a plethora of parties on the left who are effectively putting curtains on the Overton window. Don't get me wrong, the Greens are fantastic at identifying a problem. They have been fantastic at identifying that problem since I was a kid watching Royal Canadian Air Farce. I am no longer a kid, and the NDP, I have no idea what is going on with the NDP. It seems like everyone in charge of their campaign has no substantive plans and is so focused on winning, they're coming off thirsty as hell in all the worst ways and alienating so many of their biggest supporters. And to be clear, Canada would not in the least bit benefit from a two-party system. A two-party system just means fewer people for the Americans to bribe. But once the Greens and the NDP both perform terribly in this election, I would suggest that any of the leadership of both of your parties who can stand being in the same room with each other go to a mountain and retreat somewhere and bring along some of the people from the Revolution Party and figure out a way to have a unified voice on the left that does more than just believe the right things about workers and the environment, and maybe reach out to some behavioral psychologists to teach you to understand how people make decisions. I'd also like our Canadian lefties to recognize that the further left you go, the more you need to not just acknowledge the problem that nobody else wants to talk about, but the more you need to provide at least the broad strokes of a solution. You can't just say, we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. And you can't just say that you're going to stop industries that people work in, because even if the people hate their jobs, their identity is heavily wrapped up in what they do. Right now, this election is very likely to go to Carney's Liberal team, which means that the left wing of Canada has 4 to 8 years or so to get your act together and figure out how to be more than just a smattering of protest candidates, because they're the Liberals and they will eventually self-sabotage. This is the way. And when that happens, historically, Canada swings right because we all want to punish the Liberals, and for some reason, that means we think that we need racism and unbreathable air. And I like breathing. But what if there was a third option, a real consolidated group of people who like to watch documentaries and aren't too busy creating rival parties because they can't be in the same party as the guy that they had a threesome with? Wouldn't that be a dream?